Hi everybody and welcome to Ask Bishop Zac. Today we have a question still within the issues of COVID-19. What is the role of the church in this kind of pandemic?
Again, really a very good question. I have myself asked that question, actually from the beginning, especially seeing how the various religious leaders and church leaders, bishops, pastors, apostles, prophets, pronouncements, speaking, gathering, and so on. So asking really, so what ought to be the role of the church in a situation like this? And I've been drawn to think, one, who the church really is. What is it that defines the church's being in the world, in general terms? And then we are able to say, what therefore in these COVID-19 times? And there are three things in reading the Holy Scriptures that it seems the Scriptures teach about the being church in the world. And it's faith, hope, and love. Faith, a deep trust in God, a recognition that what is, will be, has been, originates, belongs to God the transcendent, who loves the world, who cares about the world. Secondly, hope, that those who live by that story, who live in by faith in that story of God in charge, actually have hope. They can't be hopeless because they have a sense that God has a purpose for his world, for what he does, for what happens here. It's not beyond him, hope. And then thirdly, this God, and it's a powerful revelation in Christ, is God who so loves the world. And so the people who live by that story themselves must reflect love. So faith, hope, and love. A deep trust in God means we shouldn't be panicking. If the church panics in moments like this, it's contradicting what it really ought to be. What the church ought to be is give hope. And that hope is in acts of love. And the health of any society, what happens in any society anytime, its health, its quality is determined by what and how those on the margins of society, those who are excluded normally, how they are treated. The health of a society is to be judged by how it treats those on the margins. So in a situation like this, COVID-19, we know that the people who are paying the heaviest brand are people who have, I was talking to somebody about stay home, stay safe. And I was saying, there are many people for whom to stay home is very unsafe. They have no home to be to. So stay home, stay safe is itself a reflection of the inequalities. So the church ought to be present, bridging the gaps of inequality in this time. The church ought to be present, literally giving food. The church ought to be present, turning church buildings now that are empty, frankly, into warehouses for food. You know, I had hoped that that's what the churches would become, warehouses for food for the communities. So the churches ought to be there giving hope, not the panic, no. And therefore, the church reflecting faith, hope, and love. That's what I would hope the church's response ought to be now, as it ought to be in any and every context.
Wow. Faith, hope, and love. Um, Very challenging. Thank you very much. I think many of us might still have a couple more questions to build up on that. But yeah, please do share your questions with us. We want to hear your questions. We want to throw at him as many questions as possible and hear his thoughts. He won't be right all the time. Or anyway, but yeah, we want to hear your thoughts.
Of course
That's
I
what
would.
this is about. So
Thank you.
we thank you very much and join us again. Bye bye.